Hi, this is Sandra. I'm going to get as much information as I can in today on watercolor design, and I'm following the book by Ed Whitney, and this is what I call a jewel. It shows the complicated nature of many things that you need to think about if you're following Ed Whitney's principles and elements of design. I hope you've ordered this book from the internet. It'll cost you anywhere from $9 to $20, and it's a later edition of a book that he had back in the 70s. Here's the chapter on design. It's chapter 6, and after that follows chapter 7, and we're going to be focusing on both the principles and the elements as an introduction as to how you need to think about your watercolors. One of the key points of your personality is that you love this cover. You love how watercolors can be put on a piece of paper and be the most beautiful medium in the world, as opposed to any other type of way you would approach art. Plus, I hope you have a passion for what you're going to paint, because your passion will come out in the design. If you love dogs, I would suggest you try to paint dogs. If you love flowers, you love flowers. If you love sunsets, you love sunsets. You paint those things to put your passion on paper. But by putting your passion on paper, I want you to think about using the principles of design on this side of the paper. I'm going to post this. The elements of design on this side of the paper. And there are 8 principles and 7 elements. And in order to implement the principles, you have to use the elements. So first, let me go over the principles that are the building blocks of your design, and then if we have time, we'll go over the elements. If not, we'll use the elements in another 10 minutes. I fashioned a mnemonic. It's a sentence to help you remember the first letters of the word that will help you remember the principles. And the sentence is, as easy as. Now, as easy as is just a preliminary to the next letters. A, B, C, D, get happy using rigors. The A stands for the principle of alternation. B stands for the principle of balance. C stands for the principle of conflict. D stands for the principle of dominance. G stands for the principle of gradation. H stands for the principles of harmony. U stands for the principles of unity, and rigors stands for the principle.
R stands for
the principle of repetition. So Edgar Whitney starts off with the most important principle. If you don't have unity, you have nothing. So whenever you paint a painting, if you stand back and it looks unified, not just a white piece of paper, but something on the white piece of paper, and those elements have helped to unify the painting, then you know you've got a good painting. If something stands out and it doesn't belong to the rest of the painting, then the painting doesn't work. So your most important principle, after your passion and deciding what you're going to paint, is to think of unity. The way that unity is displayed in this jewel are by elements. So let me tell you now how in this jewel, how there's some unity. You have, in order to have unity, you need to have at least the color, which is an element, will help you either have a unified, mostly warm painting or mostly cool painting. Because of conflict, you don't want everything to be the same. So in looking at this jewel, I hope you'll see that we've got a mostly warm painting with some cools towards the bottom, which represent on the left side, which represent the cools. So that would be a way that you could promote unity of color. Another way that you could promote unity is by repetition. you've got repetition of triangles, and you've got repetition of straight lines. If you'll see that, one line going to another, and you've got a repetition of triangles. You've also got repetition of alternation. They're alternating triangles. They aren't exactly the same. The lines are not exactly the same. They cross each other in different ways. So maybe you can think of other ways that this promotes unity. Is there conflict? There's conflict in color. There's conflict in angle. I don't believe that I'm not sure that we've got any kind of gradation going on here. So that's one thing, that you don't have to have every one of these principles, but probably. I do think there's some harmony. It looks like that the colors somewhat go together and there's not a, quote, bad chord. So I believe we've covered alternation. Is there a balance? Does this look off balance, or does there seem to be some sort of balance? Does it look like it's falling over? I believe there's a balance. It looks like that it's standing on firm footing. C, is there conflict? There's conflict because it's mostly warm, but there's some cool. Dominance. What is the dominance? The dominants are the pointed ends. The dominants are the dominance of color. There's a dominance of line. So all these different elements are mixed together, often more than one at a time. We've already decided there's not much gradation and there's not much texture. I believe I've covered at least 6 of the 8 elements. Now, if my 10 minutes is not up yet, I want us to talk a little bit about the elements and what they are. And the sentence that I use for the elements, and I need to look at this. Let's share colorful views that show dedication. Let's share colorful views that show dedication. The L would be for line. We use line in order to promote the elements. Share. We used size to promote size of the triangles. So we have size that we've addressed. Let's share. Colorful. So we used color. We've already said how we use color. Views would be, I have to think of what colorful. Views would be value. So we have dark value and light value and medium value and all those little triangles. And even the white would be a very light value. That would be, let's see, that would not be texture. Let me jump to, I have to look at my notes here, and you're gonna have to look at chapter 7 too, because each one of these elements I do think that I covered in this particular gem. But I'm just trying to think of the different elements. We've got line, we've got direction, we've got size, we've got shape, we've got value, we've got texture, and we've got one more. So I'll let you look up the other one. I believe my 10 minutes is up. We're going to continue to use this as we paint our paintings and as we evaluate our paintings. The center of interest we'll also consider, because if you look at this, something that looks like an upside down question mark, your eye ought to go to that white, which is the lightest light against the darkest dark, and that's going to be the next 10-minute lesson. Did I use 10 minutes?